The Roosevelt era really set up our times in so many ways in terms of the role of government and the relief of poverty. But at the same time, so much was left undone and still remains to do.
It was a watershed in terms of the struggle for equal rights. Even though people's objectives weren't always necessarily achieved, the foundation was built.
It's really important that we have this reflection on not only the plight of African Americans in this country, but how leaders have responded to that plight. How have they been able to use the levers of power to support communities of color, to support the African American community, or did they shy away from it?
Until the Roosevelt era, there was no discussion about ending segregation, discrimination, lynching. And lynching in those days was a community celebration. I mean, the whole town would come out to watch somebody be tortured and lynched.
The two sides of the Roosevelt family. On the left is Franklin's side. On the right is Eleanor, which includes former President Teddy Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt. Today's show, there's going to be very little conversation from me. I want you to see this. This is for some of you, it may be hard to watch. This is American history. We look at this beautiful land that the Roosevelts called home. At the same time, so many people of color, black people that is, were struggling to be a part of this country. The Roosevelts had to face their prejudice and come through it and do better and be better and set a better example for the country. Eleanor really strived to make things better for black men, women, children, people of color in this country. So did Franklin. Lisa and I had a chance to visit the museum, and there's a large view of the grounds that Hyde Park sits on. This is the exhibit that brought us here. Black American Civil Rights and the Roosevelts, 1932 to 1962. I encourage you, if you get a chance, please visit. Some of this is going to be hard to see. This is American history. I wish this was a traveling exhibition. Enjoy.
Redlining map of Poughkeepsie, New York and its suburbs, March 1938. This redlining map of Poughkeepsie was among the hundreds of residential security maps of urban areas created by the Homeowners Loan Corporation. The maps indicated mortgage lending risk by neighborhood type, including residential, commercial, and industrial areas. Residential districts were marked with different colors to indicate the level of risk in mortgage lending. Streets and neighborhoods that included minority, especially African American, and immigrant populations were often marked in red as fourth grade or hazardous, the riskiest category for federally insured homeowner loans. For example, in the blue area marked B3 on this map, there is a small sliver of red along Glenwood Avenue. Notes that accompany the map explain why. Glenwood Avenue, which is shown in red, was an old Negro settlement before this area was built up. Similarly, in the blue area marked B2, Pershing Avenue appears in red. The map maker's notes indicate Pershing Avenue, marked in red, has a number of Negro families. Houses on this street are very poor and of limited value. This statue is adapted from a 1933 photograph in the FDR library of Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt on the south lawn of their Hyde Park home.
Hi, Mr. Roosevelt. Can I ask you a couple of questions? How did it feel being the only president elected 4 times? I guess that's like the wheelchairs. They haven't cut the grass here. Oh, look at these apple trees, honey.
These are apple trees?
Looks like it, yeah. Yep. We're going to see this exhibit of the Black American civil rights. And Fred, I see that.
We gotta see
We'll
it.
check that out, yeah. Seems like every museum has every presidential library has a rose garden. This is very understated, huh?
It was built a long time ago.
Get into this place.
I don't know. We're going to there or it looks like over there.
In the corner.
In the corner. Very understated, huh?
Enjoy, folks. All right.
Boiler room? Never heard it called that.
Well, back then. Look at this, honey.
Death penalty to the lynchers. Who are the Scottsboro guys?
Some kids that were. You're gonna probably learn everything, answer every question in this exhibit. So. Even Kennedy was the same.
Look at this. Do not buy where you will not be hired.
That's what needs to be the slogan now.
Is today the 17th?
Yes. areas.
Look at this. This is the key. The result was federal approval of residential segregation and denial of opportunities.
Start the read from here. Go.
A red line around housing assistance. If a neighborhood is to retain stability, it is necessary that property shall continue to be occupied by the same social and racial classes. A change in social or racial occupancy generally leads to instability and a reduction in values, said the Federal Housing Administration in 1935. The Depression put tremendous pressure on homeowners. By 1933, almost half of the nation's $20 billion in home mortgages was in default. Nearly 1 million homeowners had lost their property to foreclosure, and many more faced the same fate. Roosevelt took dramatic action to assist struggling homeowners and revitalize the housing market. 2 new agencies, the Homeowners Loan Corporation, HOLC, and the Federal Housing Administration, FHA, pioneered a government role in insuring mortgages. They provided federal guarantees for home mortgages issued by lenders who met government standards. This revolutionized America's home financing system, making home ownership easier with secure, low-interest, 30-year mortgages. These initiatives stabilized the housing market and provided a pathway to home ownership for generations of Americans. But government mortgage rules were also used to deny loans to African Americans and keep them in segregated neighborhoods. The HOLC created color-coded residential security maps of hundreds of metropolitan areas. The color coding indicated places that were deemed safe to issue mortgages. Communities with significant African American populations were included in areas coded in red for high risk. These maps inspired the term redlining, describing a policy of refusing to make federally insured mortgages in such areas. In 1935, the FHA issued an underwriting manual that set standards for federally backed mortgages. It endorsed the redlining of black residential areas and indicated that mortgages should not be provided to black families seeking to move into white neighborhoods, since the FHA maintained this would reduce property values. As the manual noted, incompatible racial groups should not be permitted to live in the same communities. The result was federal approval of residential segregation and denial of opportunities for black citizens to accumulate generational wealth through home ownership. That's awesome, dude.
Never heard of that before. Yeah. Now it's. And did you hear about that? Was it that place that all the black people had?
We saw this in the Jackie Robinson Museum.
Eleanor wasn't into. It's 2 days from now.
That's when Bessie.
It's terrible.
It's hard.
Connection. Knows what year it was. It was before the war, so. Yeah. The 30s, maybe. Yeah.
Johnny, this is cool.
The singer was invited by Secretary of the Interior Aikens to attend. No, he's doing it. I gave him 3 this took him off. The finest in a century.
Where's that light coming from?
It's very hard for people now to understand how absolutely routine the worst virulent kind of racism was in those days. I mean, it was the low point of black life in the United States after Reconstruction.
I, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, do solemnly swear.
When President Roosevelt gets in, he's inaugurated, he has his vision about democracy, about the role of government. And to do that, you had to confront the problem of segregation. Southern Democrats were the strongest obstacles to this vision. So the South really became a battleground during this period.
Roosevelt was a great politician, and he had a very good sense of what he could and could not do, especially with a Congress which was run almost entirely by Southern congressmen and senators, whose support he desperately needed for the other parts of the New Deal.
It's almost like a bet that he made that the future of the party is not going to be in these Southern segregationists. The future of the party is going to be among these African American voters, and we need to address that.
Until Roosevelt, black people voted for the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, and he was determined to change that, and he did enough so that that change happened.
By 1934, the midterm, marginally African Americans profited from the stability that Roosevelt was